morning and welcome to our Thursday morning chapel. I hope you're doing well. Now, this morning we're going to watch part one of an interview I did with a teacher, actually, Mr. Jones, who has achieved a lot of incredible things. And I think as you listen to it, I hope there's lots of things that you can learn from it. I certainly did. And as I said, it is part one. Part two we'll watch next week because there was so much there that I think it's worth seeing the whole thing. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it. And here it is. But do you want to just tell us where you grew up?
Yeah, Papua New Guinea, which is above Australia. It's a bit like I suppose you can imagine a cloud across the top of Australia. It's an island which my parents were teachers, and my mum suffered from bad circulation, so it was suggested that they go somewhere warm. But I'm not sure my dad told my mum where we were going because she may not have got on the plane. But amazing place.
How did you get into cricket?
Yeah, just through school to start with, through my primary school. It was, we all played cricket at school, and then from there joined a club, and it wasn't too far from home. So that's when I first started. But football was my sort of first sport that's why I played a lot in Papua New Guinea, and then I only came across cricket when I went to Australia, and so I thought I'd be a footballer to start.
And when did you decide that you were going to make a career out of it? When did you think, hang on, I could do this professionally?
Wasn't until late, very late. Whereas I look at the way it is over here in England now. So I didn't move to England until I was early 20s, so 1998. So and I came over here just to play club cricket as as something different to travel. I was working full time, and I was playing club cricket and doing quite well, and someone just suggested it to me that had I thought about it, and so I literally wrote off a letter asking if they'd just have a look at me to start, and so I can remember borrowing a car to drive from the 4 and a bit hours from Abergavenny up to here to Canterbury, not having a clue where I was going, and arriving.
No sat nav.
Before sat nav, and then just going into a net situation where I was I was 21 at the time, 22.
Yeah.
And I was in a net with 16, 17, 18-year-olds having a trial, just basically being looked at, hoping that they would think I'm good enough.
How did you impress them then?
I ran down the wicket, the first ball I faced to the slower bowler, and hit them back, past them over their heads. So, quite an aggressive shot. And the coach said to me a few years down the line that if I didn't play that shot, it probably wouldn't have sort of picked me out. And it was because of the sort of the intent, the way that I showed something different to what the others. So the others were quite timid and not playing their natural game, whereas I just ran down and tried to whack it, and thankfully I did.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get selected for England? I mean, how did that?
I practiced loads on my own, and I was just determined to be the best I could in that. By the end of that 2-year period, and that then Kent then chose me, and the next year was when I had my proper opportunity, I felt, to play for Kent in the first team against the best players in the country, and sort of restart that journey again. And it was at the end of that first year, which was in 2003, that I'd only played 1 year properly.
Only 1 year?
Yeah, for the first team. It was after that 1 year that I did quite well in certain games, and I got picked to go on my first trip overseas to Bangladesh.
What, to play that? What was that like?
Sat next to Nasser Hussain, was the former England captain.
Yeah.
And so I had loads of moments where it was just a pinch me moment where I couldn't believe what I was doing, and where I was really, because coming from a boy that grew up not playing cricket to start with, and then in a sort of a country Australian town with Welsh parents, to here I was on a plane to play for England. It was an incredible journey, but in a position I never thought I'd be in. By that point I was So when was that? So that point I was sort of middle 20s, 26,
Wow.
27.
What, 2003?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I wasn't your typical youngster who had come through all of the Kent system. So some of the boys and girls here at the school have been in the Kent under 11s, 12s, all the way up through into the academy. I didn't have any of that. I just sort of joined late in and went on a bit of a whirlwind trip, which was amazing.
Gosh, that's incredible. And what was it like the first time you went out to bat for England, for example? How did that feel?
I went out, and that's where luck comes into it.
What? Tell us what happened.
Luck in life and sport. Well, I got out when I was on about 1 or 2. I was bowled.
You were bowled out?
Bowled out when I was a 1 or 2. But then the umpire, and it was a no ball. So in cricket, because the bowler had stepped over the line.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, cricket's got so many little rules, but this little rule saved me. And I kept batting, and I ended up getting 60 not out.
So how did you feel when he said, "Oh, it's a no ball," or had you seen it was a no ball?
Well, yeah, it all happens quickly, but that was, again, it was that opportunity to say, right, okay, make the most of it. You've got a second chance.
Wow.
And so I got that 60 odd not out, and then I remember being in the nets preparing for the test match, and the captain came over to me, and he walked behind the nets and just sort of pulled me over and said to me, right, you're playing the next test match. And that was my first test, so I was in the West Indies, incredible place to be. And it was then that sort of, it struck me that this journey that I'd been on and sacrificed, because, that's the one thing, to be not just a professional sports person, but in life, I think to succeed, you have to sacrifice a huge amount.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to work really hard.
Yeah.
And along with that comes sacrifice. And I'd done that a lot in the previous 3 years.
I thank you for the gift of sport, Lord. I thank you for so many of our teachers who seek to train us and help us. Lord, please help us not take the sport here in this school for granted. Amen. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful week.